Welcome to Disrupt and Discuss with your hosts, E and KayCee. A Boucher Ventures production brought to you by It's Just ETV and My Herba by the Fitness Collective. Now, without any further ado, disrupt and discuss.
Tell me about this. What type of memory do you have of, dealing with a interaction with someone local?
We went to this I don't know where everybody is located that's listening to this. There's those food places, kind of like where you go and you have all these different places to eat. You can sit down, a public market also. So we were at this one public market and this one guy was making this dish for us and we were all sitting around and I was like, okay, this wasn't enough food. I said, well, I'm gonna get one to go. And so what we did, we didn't use a lot of cash. We just had our credit card that we had set aside for it.
Mhm.
And so I said, "Yeah, can you make me another one?" And he goes, "Yeah." So basically it was like, "Do you take cards?" And he's like, "Oh, I only take cash." And I was like, Okay, well, that's okay. That guy went to the next stand over, borrowed the guy's whatever that thing is to, do the credit card, set it
Yeah,
up.
I ain't leaving without we gonna make this happen.
And I mean, it wasn't like we don't take cash, so you're shit out of luck. He
Right.
made a way. And so once we were getting ready to leave, Aaron went and paid the guy. The guy actually gave him a hug and bowed. So I'm like,
Wow.
and it was like, "Thank you." And it wasn't like, "Oh, thank you." It was genuine. You felt it was genuine
Right.
when they did it.
It's sincere.
Yeah.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay. I might have to take the trip to Japan. I'm liking what I'm hearing.
As long as you're going with someone that knows the area, 'cause like I
Mhm.
said, and I got to think when I was looking at a lot of the social media stuff and they're saying, "Hey, do this." I don't wanna explore on my own. I'm not Dora the Explorer, not doing that. And if you get with somebody that knows what they're doing and where they're going, it makes a really good trip. And then one of the things my daughter was like, "Well, where's the homeless?" You know?
Right.
And I don't know whether I know it's there. I mean, homelessness is everywhere. It's just to what degree. But we didn't see any. We saw some areas where there are people that are homeless, but here's the thing. They have to keep their area neat.
Right.
And what I mean by neat, okay, if you have a sleeping bag and if you have a tent in the morning, you gotta take that down, and there's a certain place where you have to put it. You cannot be walking in the street because the sidewalk has been overrun by unhoused people.
Right. It's not
You just
allowed.
it may be because we were tourists and we're on a bus, they only took you on A street and not C street, so you didn't see anybody, but she even said as far as the homeless, she goes, "Yeah, we have them, but there are certain rules that go with that. You just can't." And we're like, "Wow." I'm telling her how it is. She goes, "No, no."
What it sounds like to me that even the homeless still have to show a level of decorum and dignity. They
Yep,
can't just, "Oh, I'm homeless and y'all just have to deal with it. I'm gonna make the bushes my toilet and the leaves my toilet paper and y'all just get to
wow.
accept
Okay,
it."
that was a bit deep, but okay.
Because you see a lot of it and it's like, you just have to deal with it.
Right,
They're laid across the streets and in some places, in some urban places, you gotta walk over them and
right.
nobody tries to do anything about it or solve the problem. But it sounds like even though they are homeless, they still have to have a level of, decorum.
Yes.
I'm not just gonna leave my stuff strode around. I'm not gonna be all dirty looking. I'm still gonna get up and try to do something with my day.
Yes, yes,
That's what it sounds like.
yes. Yes,
Totally different
exactly.
from here.
Yeah, it is, it is.
Totally different.
One of the things that when we were on the highway or freeway, we would pass by various apartments. And one of the things that was pointed out to us was you'll see a lot of red triangles on
Mm,
the windows. And so she's like, "Well, you noticed the triangles?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I did." And I didn't think twice about it, but I noticed I saw a lot of them. Those stay on the window. So should the first responders, whether it be fire truck or whatever, they need to get to you. Those windows come out
Oh,
and they can
wow.
go in because there's some high rises and sometimes you
Right.
can't get up in there. So it's quicker to get to them from the outside. So I don't know if they've got a mechanism to pull out the window and probably do.
Mhm. Mhm.
That lets them know, okay, this window you can do that with. So it's all these, if you look at pictures and if you pull up red triangles, I guess on their housing, you'll see that. And you'll see a lot of
Right.
the red triangles. So I took some pictures and I sent that back to the kids so they can see that that's something that they have on there. So that's pretty interesting.
Wow.
I was like, huh.
That's very interesting, but
And
I can understand that because Japan or a lot of those nations, they go up and not out, right?
correct,
They build a
correct.
lot of skyscrapers and you live in smaller dwellings,
Yes.
more building dwellings than you have
Hmm.
houses. So
Exactly.
that makes sense. That definitely
So,
makes sense.
and I mean, just some of the ideology behind some of the stuff was like really interesting. It's like, God, how come we don't do that here? Um,
Right.
and again, with the bathrooms, oh
Mhm.
my God, again, clean, clean.
You gotta tell her about look, y'all when she got there, the first pictures Casey sent me was of the bathroom and the the what was it? The what do they call the
Bidet,
bidet?
bidet.
The
Oh my
bidet.
God.
She
Oh
had
my
a
God.
bidet experience, y'all. She
Oh my God. You get there. I mean, because we have the portable ones that you can put on your toilets here. So
Right,
I was not a foreign, it was a bidet was not foreign to me, is what I'm trying to
right.
say. So we get there and in the hotel, and you've got, of course, I was expecting a bidet. You've got all these buttons on there. You had hot water, cold water. The seat was warm. I'm like, you damn near cook your nether regions on there
Right.
because it's like, damn.
Okay. Sound like the other region gets an experience.
It man, the force of the water on top of that, it's like, well,
Right,
shit. It was interesting. But then you figure you're in a hotel, you expect things to be neat and clean and everything. But when
right.
as we would travel, we would stop, and I don't remember the actual name of these places. It's similar to a truck stop that we would go to. So you have places to eat in there, and then you also have public restrooms. My God, those were the neatest, cleanest friggin' restrooms ever. And then the idea of going and using a bidet in a public restroom,
Right,
again, with the US kind of thinking, would gross you the fuck out. There's no
right.
way. So I get there, they've got two distinct types of toilets, basically.
Mhm.
There's people that still do serious squatting. They have the toilet in the ground,
Oh,
so
wow.
you could just squat over it and use it. I didn't know that there was the difference. Of course, I walk into that one and it's like, what the fuck am I going to do with this? So I was like, oh, but I had to take a picture of it. So I took a
Right.
picture of that. And you can hold on to the bar and you can squat over the toilet or whatever. But then across the way, which I didn't look until after I got out, there's the other one that you could just sit there and do what you need to do. But either way, you go in there, there's only toilet paper, of course, but there's not the little paper that you put over the toilet.
So it's not okay, that covering.
That covering, yes.
Yeah.
So what they have is like hand sanitizer in a way. You got that, you put that on a napkin or the toilet paper they had, and you wipe the seat.
Okay, so you wipe the seat before you sit down.
Yeah, that was their version because then now you're saving on paper, first
Gotcha.
of all. And so again, the toilets are clean. You don't have nothing in there that'll surprise you. And I was like, how did they keep this clean? So after I flushed it, I stood there and I wanted to see. There's this thing that comes out and it sanitizes the toilet. Underneath the rim, everything. It's sanitized. I was like, damn.
So they are very technology
Oh
forward.
God. Yeah. And I'm like, how could again, what the fuck? How
Right,
come they don't do that here?
right.
And there's people that are designated to clean the bathrooms. And I
Mhm.
mean, this one lady, again, they don't bend over, they all squat. which is healthy for you
Exact I was gonna
anyway.
say it's very healthy.
Yes.
Very healthy.
So she's squatting and she's cleaning the bathroom. She is cleaning behind the toilet. I don't even do that at my house. I sweep it and there we go.
Right.
But she is down there cleaning behind the toilet. Everything is clean. I
But
mean,
because they do it so much, it's immaculate, it's maintenance.
yeah. And so Aaron was telling me when he was over in, the men's section,
Right.
he's like, the same thing with the urinal for the men. He goes, it sanitizes. It's this little thing that comes out and it sanitizes. He goes, you don't ever walk in there and it smells like pee.
Right.
Never. And he
Wow.
he went to a lot of different ones, and it wasn't just that one place. We went to a lot of different places, and the same thing. One of the things he said that kind of like freaked him out was he was going into one of the, I guess, truck stops again, and he went into the restroom, and there was a lady in there cleaning, and he's like, "Whoa, whoa," and she was, "It's okay." And at the first time he was like, he goes, "Nah, man, ain't we having no Me Too moment. We ain't doing that." So he went somewhere to the other side to another side of the place where they had a different bathroom and he went there. But then about maybe 4 days into that and he walked in and somebody was cleaning, he's
He's
like,
like, "Whatever."
he was used to it by then. And
That's what I wanted to ask you, and I didn't mean to cut you off.
yeah,
So, when you went into the bathroom and after you used the bathroom, did the person come in and immediately start cleaning after you?
no,
Or did she
no.
just happen to be in there?
She just happened to be in that
Okay.
particular one when I was in there.
Okay.
But that's their job. That's what they do. And when I'm talking about 7-Eleven, it's still on the same context.
Right,
But
right.
as far as cleanliness, when we go into like the 7-Elevens, you got all the ATMs there. You have the ATM for, all that stuff. However, the one lady was over there mopping, and it wasn't because something was spilled. She was just mopping because that was what she did. I mean, she was one of the employees there,
Right.
but it again, spotless. Spotless.
Spotless.
Yeah.
No odor, nothing.
No.
So, it sounds like you didn't see really homeless people or
Nope.
no crazy drivers,
Nope.
no belligerent people. Um,
Nope. Now, only thing that got loud when we went one of the places we went to eat and kinda like that kabuki setup, because
okay.
even the one we took our shoes off and we're sitting low, and we get down and you sit there and I'm thinking, "How in the fuck am I gonna get back up?" Because you're sitting there and you're sitting for a while, and as we get older, we get stiff.
Right.
So there's no elegant way to get you're like, "Oh, let me hold on." But now the people in the area across from us,
Mhm.
they started getting loud. Now, it's one of the thing that people say that over there, yeah, we're quiet people, but when we drink, we get loud. So
Right.
that was one of the things that our tour guide said. She goes, "Yeah, work hard, you play hard. We're really quiet, but then when you start drinking," and I think they were playing some kind of a board game also, and they do that a
Okay.
lot. They'll bring
Okay.
games and they'll do that, and you're hearing "Bonsai," blah, 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 and I was like, "Oh, oh, okay, okay." So
So
yeah,
they get
that was
spirited when they get some spirits in them.
yes,
Like
yes,
normal folk. Okay. Okay,
exactly.
did you ever see because you always see in the movies, I think it's Japan, they love karaoke. Did you see that at all?
I
Any
didn't
type
see
of
that.
karaoke
There
action?
were places you could do karaoke, but we didn't do that,
Okay.
and we weren't there. Now, one of the places we went to was the Himeji Castle.
Okay.
I don't know if I showed you that picture. It was just this really big white castle looking thing.
Mhm.
And one of the ladies that was our tour guide, she was up there in age. And this is what I talk about the centenarian thing. She was showing us pictures and we climbed up into the castle. You're going up all these stairs. I was tired. This little lady was about my height and she gave tours. So
Right.
she's climbing up and down those stairs all the time, showing all this stuff. And it was very interesting. And in that particular castle, she was saying where a lot of the kung fu movies were filmed at. And you see, that was one of the backdrops for it. And I was like, oh,
So a
okay.
lot of the old school kung fu movies that we used to
Some of
watch
them,
back
yeah.
in the day?
Hmm. Hmm.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. So we got to see that. And then another time when we were in Tokyo, we had just gotten there, and we didn't realize what area obviously we were in. And so one of the places we passed by, I guess we saw a lot of police. And I
Mhm.
didn't see any women, not saying that they're not there, but I didn't see any women police officers. And I
Okay.
was like, huh, okay. And I'm like, I'm seeing like a little paddy wagon here, and I'm seeing police officers here and there. And I asked the driver again, broken English, broken Japanese. So that was a sight.
Right.
So finally figured out, okay, why are all the police over here? Well, I guess that's where the prime minister lived. They had all the security out there for the
Okay.
prime minister. I
Okay.
was like,
So that
"Oh,
was
I'm sure it
okay.
was during the day when we got there." But yeah, that's where the prime minister was. And so they had all that security. And then we went past Shibuya Place.
Mhm.
I don't know if people know what that is. That's that
I don't know
major.
what Shibuya Place is.
You do?
I don't.
Oh. It's that major crosswalk where you got people walking diagonal,
Right.
cross, and all
Cross.
that. Yeah, we passed it, but then we didn't get out and walk in that one. Now, there's other crosswalks, but not as massive as that one, but there are the same crosswalks. Let me tell you, when in Rome, just
You
walk.
gotta do it.
Don't
Right.
stop, don't turn, just walk.
Oh my god. I love this. Oh, and just to go back, you are correct. For centurions, Japan holds the record for the highest rate of centurions. So
I completely
0.06 of their population is aged 100 plus.
Very
So
easy, very easy.
would you say it's part of the because of what you saw? Well, let's talk about this with regards to because I love to talk about nutrition and
Mhm.
exercise. Did you see a lot of people interact? I know you said the bike riding and things of that nature. What else did you see that the people did to kind of like keep their health?
That was the main thing that I saw that stood out
See them
was,
doing that movement stuff?
oh,
All I
Tai
wanted to
Chi
say.
in the park. I
Yeah.
didn't see that. I was
Okay.
expecting to see that, but I did not see that. And not
Or maybe
again,
that's
not
not
to say that it wasn't
Japan.
there. I mainly saw a lot of people on bikes. I saw a lot of people walking, and they still do a lot of physical
Physical
things.
activity, right?
Yeah, I definitely saw that.
And the squatting. That
Mhm.
squatting, that is yeah.
Yeah.
Squatting is good for you at all ages.
I
So,
started back doing that. I'm still a work in progress, but
yeah.
it opens up your hips. It helps with your digestion. The closest we have is in here we go, maybe on another episode talking about TMI, but it's what you call a squatty potty.
Yes. Yes.
So when we're sitting on the commode, we have the squatty potty, which is nothing like you have a bunch of phone books basically, and your legs are up. You're not sitting in a chair, you're up. So
Yep.
everything can flow appropriately and you're not straining in
Well, that's what they
anything.
say. You're supposed to have a stepping stool or something for
Mhm.
like our
Mhm.
toilets to, yeah, so everything can flow. And maybe I'm just thinking back to what you were saying when you were in that restroom where they had like the little thing on the floor.
Uh-huh.
Maybe that's for people who still like to do the squatty
It's
potty.
exactly what that was for.
Wow.
So, and then you, like I said, as you're squatting, there's like bars, like a long and a short. So, depending on your agility, you can also hang on
Right.
and squat and do your business.
You ain't gonna never see that. In America, they had you got options to where how you want to use the bathroom. Oh
You're,
my God.
and again, even though we were there for like 10 days, you
Mm,
got used to it. You really got used to it. And then when we came home, not like you're like, oh God, these peasants. It's not like that at all. But when you come home, you're like, well, fuck, this is dirty.
right.
Why?
Right. And they
You know,
always Japanese people love to tour America. I'm wondering now when I'm listening to you how they live and then them coming here. I know number one, it's the dang culture shock. And number two, are they looking at us like we are like
barbaric.
like some monkeys in a zoo for lack of a better term? Like are we zoo animals to them? No,
I hate to say yes, but
I
I
mean, just
don't
what you
know.
explain how they live and then they love to come here. Why would they want to come here?
Because back and I was shocked.
Right. Why would you want to
I
come
mean,
here?
again, we were walking down the street and we were kind of like turned around, tourists, and so I'm looking one way and here comes this other car. I mean, it was down the road and they're not flying down the street, but we put our foot out in the little curb area
Mhm.
and I'm like, oh, okay, let me stop back. The guy stopped. The guy on the bike stopped for us to
Before
cross the
they even
street.
got to you.
Yeah, I wasn't even
Wow.
I'm like, well, if I step out, is he gonna step on the accelerator? What the fuck?
Right.
They waited for us to cross, then
And
they
out here,
continued on their way.
you better look.
I'm constantly looking. Like I
Right.
said, the red light is just a suggestion out here.
What would you say what was your overall take on the atmosphere and the pace of life out there?
They, you know, the pace, when you look at the subway system, they're
Mhm.
on the move, okay? It's crowded. It is fucking crowded. They work hard,
Mhm.
and I'm assuming they play hard too. But they might be polite, but they stand on business. They're going places. They're busy. They ain't got time. Again, anybody that's going, I highly suggest you have a tour guide because unless you're one of those that just love to explore,
Mhm.
there's so much. There's so much. I mean, we went and took a ferry over to some island, I don't even know, and we saw the floating shrine. And then there was another time we went to Hiroshima or Hiroshima, depending on who's saying it. And we went to the museum there. And again, I know a lot more about the Holocaust than I know about when they dropped the bomb on Hiroshima.
Right.
And both are tragedies, don't get me wrong, but I didn't know to what degree that affected Hiroshima. And on top of that, I'm standing there and I'm standing where this shit actually took place.
Right.
Talk about a mind fuck. When you're sitting there, you're seeing how the city has rebuilt. I mean, it's been some years, obviously, but this
Right.
city had rebuilt itself. But there's all this memorabilia. You're in this museum and it's very somber. And I told you I'm more of a empath. So I pick up the feelings of it.
Right.
And it gives me chills now when I talk about it. But I took some pictures and after a while, it's, you know what, you don't need to take any more pictures. Get the fuck out of here. Because it was just really heavy. And what really gets me is how can, and this goes for across the board,
Mhm.
how can any person or a race of people or anything, how can they do that to another race of people?
Right.
I don't care what race we're talking about, you name it. How can you honestly do that to another people? And then one thing we learned too, as far as with Hiroshima, there were people that and after everything had happened, there were other people from other provinces, other parts of Japan that came to help rebuild or come to help the people that were still there. Well, then they got sick and they
Right.
got, caught various forms of cancer because no one knew what that
The
was
atomic
gonna do.
bomb.
Yeah, they didn't know just how that was gonna affect everybody. So
Right.
now you're coming to help. Now you got it.
Right.
So, it was crazy. It was really sombering because no one said anything, and you had the lighting, and then you
Mhm.
had it just so and it was just like, "Oh my god." It was rough. For me, it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, and I get what you were saying with regards to how can one human inflict such devastation to other humans,
Yeah.
in the way that it was. I think that was the first, like, massive bomb, right? I think. I'm not
I
I don't
my
know
history
for a
is
fact,
kinda
right,
sucky at this point, but
right. But
but
looking
yeah.
at something like that where you can devastate a country, a nation of people, and it was just dropped on them, so it was, like, dropped and they flew off. So it's
Yeah.
not like hand-to-hand combat where,
Right.
you're fighting
Right.
each other. It's like, "We just gonna drop this on y'all and take off," and whatever happens, and the devastation that came after that was just for years
Yeah. Yeah. And
and
they
years
still
to
had
come.
they still have one building that they have that they have not demolished because they wanna show that the building is still standing, but barely. And we took pictures of that and everything. And then one of the things that the tour guide was telling us, if I remember correctly, because some people are saying, well, it wasn't just the bomb was dropped. It was, I guess, the people or persons, or I don't know how
Mhm.
their thing works, that was in charge. It was more or less, how like, because, and again, I know I'm gonna probably get flack for this. Sometimes men are got that machismo thing going on.
Right.
And it's like that kind of thing. It was my balls are bigger than your balls, or my dick is
Right.
longer than your dick, that kind of
Right.
shit. That's what was going on. And she put it more eloquently than that, but that's basically how it was. And so some of the people there blame the people in power in Japan that this could have been stopped. But, again, you got the test of wills and mine is bigger than yours and that kind
Right.
of thing. And then this is what happens.
Yeah. It's what happens. It
So,
is what happens. That is crazy.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, that was pretty heavy. And
But
what?
just to see them come back from that, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And to be so technology forward. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
I know it did a lot of bad for them, but to look at the nation now, not to say that it wasn't that before, but I'm quite sure that played a huge part in how they move forward and how they do things now.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I totally agree. And one of the other things when we were there, and it wasn't at that particular spot, but it was a different museum that we had gone to. The students, the kids, as far as school and what have you, there was like a bunch of kids
Mhm.
that were there. Two different occasions. I saw a different level of kids. There were some like elementary school kids, and they wear like the little hat and they have a uniform and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
When they went into to these places, and I'm telling you, there's always one little outlier that's doing stupid shit. There's always one. But even he was not doing the most as they have the kids that do here.
Right.
So the kids, and I had to take picture and I didn't want to look like a creep, so I didn't like do it for too long, but they were mannerable.
Mhm.
They stayed in line. Again, there was that little outlier, of course. There's always one or two, but overall, those kids were mannerable. I was like, "My God, what age are these kids?" I mean, they were obviously little. I don't know if they had the fear of God put in them before they left. Look, you step out of line. But it was awesome to see. And then there was another time we were out and about, and then they were more like middle schoolers, high schoolers. And this time they still had uniforms on. They didn't have a little beanie hat on, but they still all had blue jackets and slacks, and they were walking. They were going somewhere, and one of the things that our tour guide said, because her kids grew up in that same system, she said they do more field trips than anything
Okay.
because you can learn by doing. You learn by getting out there and seeing as opposed to being stuck in a classroom. So they do push a lot of field trips. And I don't even know if kids do those field trips anymore. I remember as a kid going to like the exploratorium. My kids went to the Chicago Space and Science Center out here. I guess that's in Oakland somewhere up in the hills.
Right.
I've never been, but I know my kids have been. So people have gotten away, and I don't know if it's funding or what, but they've gotten away from getting out there and doing instead, because you can't learn everything in a book because
No,
they can be culturally biased. So,
correct.
just again off topic, but not. People think when you see or say Africa, they think you're running around in the bush somewhere.
Bush people
Yeah. No, if you ask folks that ain't been
with a
nowhere,
spear
exactly, walking around. And granted, there
thing
are
in your
different tribes,
nose.
and there
Right.
are tribes that do have that. But then you got
Right.
these metropolitan cities that are just
Yes.
out of this world. You're like, am I in San Francisco? Am I in New York City? The same thing.
Exactly.
So I
Exactly.
always tell people you got to get out from where you, and I'm not saying again, you got to go abroad because some people don't want to do that. But get out of where you are and see something else. I know sometimes like my mom, she listens to the news way too much. I tell her all the time, stop
Mm,
listening to the
yeah,
news
stop listening to
because
that.
particular stations that she listens to, I swear I wouldn't, I told her I would never walk out my front door if I listened to the news
Right.
as much as you did. And
Right.
I bring this up again, not just, I'm not going off topic, but it's like before we left, she was like, I don't know. That's a
Oh
long
Lord.
time on a plane. Yeah. I'm like, you know what? If it's my time to go, then I'm out of here. But I'm not gonna be on my deathbed saying, God, I wish it had gone. I don't want
Right.
to be regretful. I mean, certain things you can't help it.
Right.
But sometimes being around naysayers stops you from doing stuff. And
Absolutely.
when I got ready to go, was I nervous? Hell fucking yeah, I was nervous. I don't know what I'm walking into,
Right.
but I would have still have stayed at home. I would have still have been saying, God, I wish I had gone.
Wish I had gone.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So we went, we had a nice time. And as soon as I got back, I got reacclimated to the time and everything. I booked another trip next year. I'm headed
See?
to Belize. And I already got, so Aaron and I are trying to do a trip a year,
Right.
you know, long enough so I can pay on it, first of all. But then I go and take care of all I need to take care of, and I'm out. We work hard, we want to play hard, and that's what we're going to do. And those are things we wanted to do before we had kids, but the kids came first, then the marriage. I'm a little
Right.
dyslexic, so I
Right.
things backwards. But now kids are grown and he's retired. So now we can go and we don't have to worry about, oh, well, does this date work? Can you get it off? And
Right.
after that, then we're planning to, I've already got a few years planned. And then we're going to make it to China. But I just can't, I got to wait for that long trip. I've always wanted to go to London, haven't been there yet.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I know this is weird. I know because I knew a lot of different people that were already going, and I didn't want my first trip to feel like I was copying. So
Right.
Japan was on my list. So I said, well, we're just gonna switch it up a little bit. So the next trip is going to be more or less luxury leisure.
Mhm.
So you won't be doing tons of stuff,
Right. You're gonna
but
be on the beach.
yeah, getting
For real.
massages and all that kind of
Yes.
stuff, and still might do the what do you call it? The zip line through the rainforest. That might be the most activity that I do. But then because when you go on a tour versus a leisure trip, big difference. Just so people know, when you get a tour guide and you're going to all these different cities, you're doing a lot of activities and you tend to get tired. And so when
Right.
we the
And it's
trip
all
was
planned ahead of time, right?
so the baseline of what you're going to be doing.
Mhm.
When you get there, at least through how our travel agency or the company was, then they had extra tours. So if you wanted to do extra stuff, you had the option to do that. So sometimes we would all get together in the morning and then we get
Mhm.
together, and then after that activity or experience was over, you can either go back to your room and bum around for the rest of the day, or you meet back at the bus by a certain time and go on your other experience that you wanted to go to. That's where we did the Japanese barbecue. So that
Okay.
night we got together and we took the subway, and one of the couples that was with us, they were from Australia. And what they ended up doing, they got off at the airport, they got on the train, but they got on the right train, but going in the wrong direction.
Ooh.
Yeah. And they were like, "We didn't speak the language, we didn't know what the hell was going on." I don't like that type of adventure. It sounds
Right.
good after the fact, but when you're
Right.
in it, I would have had a meltdown right then and
Right.
there.
He's like,
And
"Damn it, let's go home."
but where's home?
Right?
Now I'm really screwed. So a lot of the subways, they close at a certain time.
Oh, so they're not
So
24 hours.
so what happened was they were afraid that they were gonna have to spend the night in the subway. They were following this one young lady because they said, "Oh, she knows where she's going." So she went to the booth and she was trying to get out. And I don't know what they said. They don't know what the conversation it was, but she went to the corner. She sat down and put her head down. So I guess she figured she was going to just spend the night there. And they were like, "Oh, no, we're not
No,
doing
we ain't
that."
doing that.
So
Right.
they were walking around and they found somebody that I guess that worked there, and they kind of showed them how to get out of the station. But yeah, some people have had to sleep over in the station because it's closed.
How about you just
And
take
s
a
and
Uber or a taxi the
well,
next.
see, what we did, and I didn't understand it at the time, but it made more sense later on, was that when we booked our trip, we paid extra for transportation. And I was like, huh? What's all this? What's going on here? But what happened was when we got off the flight, we got a text from the transportation people
Mhm.
and letting us know that this person is going to be waiting out front for you. So me and my husband took our pictures because he said he wanted to know what we look like to
Look
make
like
sure you are who you are.
right.
So we took our pictures. He took a picture of himself, took a picture of his license plate in his car. And so when we came out, we saw each other and he said where he was going to be. And we got in the car and took us right to our hotel.
Bingo boing.
Yeah. So, and then when we left Osaka, that was the
Mhm.
last day, we had the same company pick us up at the hotel and they took us to the airport.
Okay, y'all.
Yeah,
You hear
and then
that? Pay
have
for
to
that. Pay extra for that.
pay extra. And then one of the things we did, and I think this is customary with hotels, period. I think when we went to the different hotels, when we got finished with one city, they just sent our bags on over to the next
Oh,
hotel.
nice.
Yeah. So that's one thing I learned because I'm going to do a domestic trip not too long from now. And going from the hotel to the airport to come back home, it's really early in the morning for my flight. And
Right.
so one of the guys said, I don't think we're going to be able to take you from the hotel to the airport because it's so early.
Right.
And he said, you might want to Uber or Lyft. Well, no offense to them. I didn't got used to going to an actual car service. I just feel safer. Call it what you
And
want.
we know KayCee and safety.
I just feel bad can happen anywhere. I get
Right.
but I went and so I'm having a car service to come
Makes
pick me
sense.
up. All these people are vetted. It's been around for a long time. They already know my flight information. I had to give them that. So they're picking me up and they're taking me to the airport. Plus, I keep little what do you call little trackers on me so my kids know where
Exactly. Them air tags.
Yes,
Yes.
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 Because again, my flight coming back home is gonna be like at 6 a.m. So I gotta leave like at 4 and the airport is like an hour away. So yeah, I'm not doing Uber or Lyft. Sorry.
Right.
Not doing that. Because now no, 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 no.
Well, I have one more thing to ask you, like wrap this up and put a bow on it.
Sure.
What would you say? Because when you do different experiences, you try to take something away from that personal experience. I know I do.
Right.
And I know for a fact that that's something that you would probably do as well. So, what would you say? What type of personal growth or what growth would you say you experienced or that you can take away from this interaction being in Japan and doing what you did?
First of all, people are people. That's first and foremost. And there's so much stuff out there that's bigger than you. And sometimes if you just sit there and absorb,
Mhm.
you learn a lot. And I know that's what the fuck are you talking about? But again, I look at health and wellness differently, believe it or not.
Right.
Again, the centenarians, and again, I wouldn't even know if somebody is 100 years old, to be quite honest. Doing things as a routine. I go to the gym for a certain purpose, but doing things in lieu of going to the gym is a routine, longevity, how you eat. And again, I didn't realize I still come home and stuff my face like everybody else.
Right.
But again, not everybody eats like having that big old slab of meat on the Flintstones or how that thing on, well, and some people don't even know about the Flintstones. But anyway, I take away about just there's something bigger than you. Yeah, everybody's claiming USA, USA, but you know what? There's other things out there.
Mhm.
Get other experiences. And I think a lot of times when people have different prejudices against people because you read it in a book, you've seen it on TV, but those are narratives that other people have set forth for you to see. They want you
Right.
to see that. You need to go and see some of these things for yourself. And again, not putting yourself in harm's way of anything, but there's other things out there than you. There really is. What really hit home for me was the language barrier. It lets you know that I could have stood in the middle of the fucking street and said, "I'm an American, God damn it. I want you guys to cater to me." That ain't
Right.
happening. It's not gonna happen. But if you loosen yourself up, you absorb, you get to know different people, you get to know different experiences, then at that point, you're learning, you're adding to what you can give to someone else and you don't even realize it. I don't know if that's a scenic route to your answer.
Yeah, no. I feel you did answer my question because what I took away from what you just said was that the people there, even though the way we act here, like we're Americans, I feel the Japanese do the same thing,
Yes.
but there is a level of humility. There's
Yes.
a level of respect for others and for themselves. And I think that's what we miss a lot of times here. A lot of us have this, oh, we're Americans, we're so great, rah, rah, rah. But there's no there's really no respect for our own people. There's really no reverence. There's no respect for this country and the way they treat their country. They say they love their country, but they show it. You know what I'm saying? They
Mhm.
say they love their
Mhm.
people, but they show it. And people can see it. You saw it clearly when you went there. Would they say that about us if they came here? Probably not. But we're rah, 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 rah.
Right,
America,
right.
America, America. So that's what I take from what you just said.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And lastly, I'll get on to a different subject altogether. But when I was talking about the bikes, one of the things that
Mm,
mine was you get off your bike, you get to your destination, you get off your bike, and then you go inside wherever you're going. We passed by a shitload
no
of bikes.
lock.
Well, no locks.
No locks.
I'm like,
What?
we're
So
looking,
no
and I'm
thievery.
like, where are the locks on the
Right.
bikes? Mm-mm. I come like when you're a little kid, you get off your bike, you run in the house. Whatever
Right.
town we were in, wherever we were walking, they get off, they leave it. Now, again, I'm not going to say that crime isn't there because obviously there's
Right.
police that were there. So
Right.
there's something somewhere.
Right.
But shit, we were in, like I said, Kyoto, tons of bikes all over the place. I'm like,
Wow.
ain't a lock in sight, man.
Wow. Try that in New York or San Francisco.
Try that here
Yeah, right.
in this little bedroom community.
Go in Walmart and see if your bike out there.
Hell, people are stealing out of the store, let
Right.
alone what's outside of the store,
Right.
and dare
That's what
you
I'm
to say
saying.
anything.
Right. It's I
Oh,
mean, I took a lot visually what you said, I'm just visualizing. And so,
yeah. Well, one thing, and I promise I'll be done.
you're
Again,
good.
having the mentality of the US when you're in Japan.
Mhm.
Now,
Mhm.
we were in one of the department stores. I mean, they still do malls. Malls are just really different. It's like
Yes.
multi-level at the mall, at the stores. And then you get confused. You get turned around because you think you're on the sixth floor, but you might be on the seventh floor, and everything starts to look the same. And then on one of them, it's a building. You don't even know outside that it's a mall.
So it doesn't say mall, Stone
No, it might say
Ridge.
something, but I
Okay.
don't even know what the hell it said. And then all the way
Gotcha.
down into the basement, it's the grocery store we were at. But we had already bought something, and I was walking around the store, and I made sure they just gave it, you pay, you get it, you walk around, you can stop, you can look. But I didn't want anybody following me in the store, and nobody was. But this is the California
Right.
US mentality.
Right.
So I made sure that I took my bag and I tied it in a knot, and I still had it in my hand, but I had it in a knot because I didn't want somebody thinking that or if I'm
Shoplifting.
stopping too long. Why are you looking at
Right.
this? What are these black people doing here? And all this kind of
Right.
stuff. And again, I had to, when I got out the store, I was like, and I felt like, I felt relief because now I won't be under that scrutiny.
Right.
And again, probably ain't nobody think about me, or maybe they were, but they got so many things in place to where it would have gone off. The ground would have fallen in, and you never hear from me again. I don't know, but I
That
was
sounded
concerned
very
about that.
Squid Game-ish.
Yeah, but I was really concerned about that because of how Black people are treated
Right.
here. Even when I go to the grocery store, I don't linger in a certain spot too long because I don't want somebody, "Oh, do you need help? Did I look for you? No, I
Right.
don't need no help."
When I do need help, y'all ain't nowhere to be found.
There's times that people have done that to me, and I go, "Yeah, I need such and such. Can you get that for me?"
Can you grab that up there?
And did I want that particular thing?
No,
No,
that's
but
ain't you asking me.
yeah.
You all up
And
in
since
my
you wanna
business.
be so helpful,
Right.
yeah, so that was something that I was concerned about. I was like, "Why am I concerned about it?" Because of what you're used to where you live.
R-
That's why I
Right.
specifically say you have to get out from where you live and see how other people live and how other things are done. Otherwise, you're just gonna have those 4 corners that you refer to all the time,
Right.
you know?
Right. Okay, I'm gonna and then we gonna wrap this up. But I what you just said just resonated with me. So what would you recommend then? I know you're doing this now at your age. Would you recommend younger experiencing these things younger? Like even teenage, or I would say teenage, where they would be able to get out and see different parts of the world to have a different worldview or a different
Oh,
perspective.
absolutely. Absolutely. Knowing what I know now, of course, but
Mhm.
growing up, we didn't have the money to do that. And you hear all the time, most likely sometimes non-melanated kids,
Mhm.
oh, we're going to take 6 months and go on a
Yep.
backpack trip
Right.
through wherever.
RV.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was always thinking, huh? What the hell? But no, I knowing what I know now, I would strongly suggest you do that because again, you hear certain things on the news, you see certain things in print, and that's one
Mhm.
person's narrative of what's going on. And again, people still think that people run around in huts and barefoot when you say the word Africa. Some don't even they want to argue the fact that Egypt is Egypt. No, Egypt is in Africa.
Right.
Egypt is Egypt. All right, motherfucker, what we gonna do here?
On the continent
Because they've
of?
separated that so much to where it's an entity upon itself. But you
Right.
need to go there and go to these different places so you can see for yourself. My sister-in-law, for example, just came back from Hungary not
Mhm.
too long. Again, how many black people do you see in Hungary? They're there. They're few,
Mhm.
but something she even took a picture. It was like, okay, she was in the public restroom and there's the faucet. And then there's these 2 handles on each side of the faucet. So you've got the faucet and then you got these handles. And she
Okay.
was like, "What the hell is that?" Well, here's the thing. You wash your hands in the faucet. Those 2 things that are out here, you put your hands there, they fucking dry your hands.
Wow, you put your hands on them and it dries it for you?
No, just like when you put your
Oh,
hands
there's
in the
air?
blower,
Yeah.
did you put your hands on the blower and it
Oh.
automatically does it? Yes. Once you wash your hands, you put your hands underneath the little handles underneath. And then it's
Right.
the dry turns on the dryer some kind of way, and then it dries your hands.
Oh, wow. Wow. Yeah. I definitely agree with you. We need more experiences to develop culture, develop some sense of there's other people out here, there's
Oh,
other
yeah.
ways of thinking, there's other ways of doing things.
There's so much other stuff. One friend of mine, he lives down in Georgia, and he spends a lot of time just recently he started spending time in Costa Rica. One of the things that he had said in his IG was people look at Costa Rica, depending on what part of it, as a third world country. He said, "Here's the thing. He can still work online. He still
Yep.
has his business in the States. He works
Yep.
online. He walked across the street from where he was staying, dirt road, but walked across the street. He got fruit. There's livestock or whatever, fresh food. There's a stream over here where you get water and
Mhm.
some other stuff." And he said, "You can't do that where you live in the States." And he said, "And this is
No.
considered a third world country? Let's think about this again."
Right. You can't just go
Again,
dip your and get some water. Boil it first. Take your
well, yeah,
chances.
there's certain things you do, but they make it seem like, again, you're living in a hut. These people,
Uncivilized.
yeah,
Right.
these people. And he's like, People are the most genuine people."
Yep. And there's a lot that goes on. Costa Rica is a very happening place, especially the major city. There's a lot of corporations that are in Costa Rica.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
there those that were shipped overseas, there's a lot of jobs in Costa Rica that, companies from the United States keep in the major thoroughfares.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you got to get out, and
That's your
and and
takeaway.
you got to get out. You got to see something other than yourself. You got to see something different, because it will change your perspective. You might still have the same views and beliefs, but now you're not just talking on hearsay, what somebody has fed you to believe. So now you're
Right.
gonna do something else. So yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. I love it. So, takeaway, get out early, people,
yeah.
especially us melanated folks, especially us who live in urban communities along the lines back in the day when they used to take kids that lived in the cities and took them out to the farmland, the country.
And to
And
the
that was
beach.
shocking to
Yep.
them. And to the
Yeah.
beach. And that was
Hmm.
like opened their eyes to so much that they didn't know that. Just imagine if they just left to another state or left out of the country, how their eyes would open
Oh,
up.
oh God. Yeah. I remember the first time I went to New York. I was like, oh my
Right.
God. Oh my God. Well, I still say, oh
Right.
my God,
Right. Right.
when I go. But yeah, it's great. And sometimes what I know a lot of my melanated folks, they like to
Mhm.
go to I know a lot of people that have gone to Ghana and they've gone into all those places. I haven't been there
Right.
yet. At some point, I definitely that is definitely on my list. But there are other times I want to go where I'm not the majority.
Correct.
And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way at
No.
all. I
No.
wanna see everything as much as I can. Um, you know,
You don't
so
want it to
that's
be told to you, you wanna experience it yourself.
right, right.
Because there's so many misnomers, so many things that have been told to us, but when you went to Japan and experienced, it wasn't necessarily so, from
No,
what I heard from you. So just
and I
imagine if you went to
y
Russia or Hungary or
exactly,
wherever.
exactly, and it's interesting, like I said, when you go places and you've never been, and you hear how what is commonplace to one set of people and what is like, "What the fuck are you doing
Yeah.
this for?" But, yeah, and their porta potties, totally different
Right.
than here.
Yeah,
The
because
porta
'cause I'll
potties
never get
here,
on one
if I
here.
can't be the first person in there, I don't think I'm gonna ever go in
No.
there.
No.
But there, it's totally different. They're on the street. You walk in there, you can see the bathroom is empty. You walk in, the glass frosts over, you lock it, and you go do your business. It's clean. You come out and you go, oh, if you're going, I know you've probably seen this on social media. I brought my own, I have a little trash bag. So if
Mhm.
you went to get something to eat, they don't really have many trash cans out there. There's hardly any on the street. You
Okay.
don't find them. If you find one, you better put everything you got in there. But they don't have that.
Oh,
So
wow.
because you don't know, you sit and eat and then you're done. They have garbage cans there and then you're done. But how we
Okay.
nosh and we're walking around because we're so busy and sometimes it doesn't make it in the garbage, it might make it on the ground. No. So just to be on the safe side, I made sure I brought a little bag, the little disposable one that I would just put all my garbage in if I had anything.
Gotcha. So you're not it's not loitering. What is it?
Littering?
One littering, thank you, because
Yeah.
loitering is
Mhm.
people. Yeah,
No.
so no littering.
No. So,
Wow.
I've got more trips planned, some domestic, some definitely international.
Are you
So I
doing
told
so, are we
Mhm.
practicing Masogi, the one major one and what did you say, 4 little ones?
Yep, yep.
Okay.
So Japan was that one, and I do the date night with the husband, and one of his masogis was he retired, and so we
Right.
got all that was in the first quarter. And so this coming up, like I said, I got another domestic trip planned, and just some other little tidbits. And I think towards the end of the year, we can recap and we can do all what we've done and everything. But oh, definitely for sure, Masogi
Absolutely.
all the way.
See?
Oh,
You
and I
guys
went to
catch
a
that
distillery,
episode.
so we
In
got to
Japan?
see. Yes, yes, because
They
where they
make
make
beer?
this was more sake.
Okay. Okay.
And so we did that. I'm sorry, I just now I'm just like, "Ah, I forgot."
Eh,
So we did that. You can cut it and splice it as you see fit.
right.
But yeah, so we went to a distillery, did sake tasting, which was really
Nice.
good. So brought a little bit back and everything, and I learned a little bit more. I think sake is if it gets to be 22 or below, and as far as the point system, that's
Mhm.
considered sake. When it's above 22, that's more of a whiskey.
Oh,
Yeah. So I guess I ended up buying whiskey. It was smooth as hell. And we only use it for drinking on special occasions. And it's usually a shot because they don't sell it over here in the US. After we got through with the tour, sake plant, or however you want to call it, when we all got in the bus, we would ordinarily just wave goodbye. The guy was bowing as we left. I tried to get that on video, but certain things, ancestors are like, you know what? Not everything needs to be recorded.
Needs to be
So it
right.
so it didn't work. I couldn't get it in time. But it was, again, thankful that we came by, waited till we got on the bus, waved, and then also bowed, and then turned around and went back to work.
Wow. I love it. Well, you guys, I hope you guys love this conversation, this trip that KayCee took to Japan. Hopefully, I asked enough questions to give you a visual, or KayCee could explain and you get a visual. I know I did. I got a visual of her journey and takeaways from that journey. So hopefully you guys love this topic that we had, and we will have more. Obviously, she has more coming, more trips. So we will
Oh, yeah.
definitely do this again. Leave us a comment. Always share our stuff. We love it when you share our content
Absolutely.
around. And let us know any trips that you have taken and what trips that you have planned and why are you taking them. So I would be very curious to read your comments with regards to it and what were your takeaways. Did you take anything away from what KayCee said about her trip to Japan? Would love to hear from you guys. uh Again, we appreciate everyone who is rocking with us. We now have over 100 subscribers. Yay!
Woo!
Thank you guys. Yes, thank you guys for rocking with us. We love that we are growing the community, and we respect that you guys are liking what we're saying and how we say it. Until the next one, you guys. KayCee, do you have anything else? Anything else?
I ain't got nothing else to say.
Well, until the next one, you guys, we'll see you. Bye.
Tiki Barber here. I remember those grueling practices, pushing through fatigue and striving for greatness. Well, that's the same dedication My Herba puts into their supplements. They understand the body's needs. My Herba takes a holistic approach to wellness. Whether it's their sea moss, immune defense, or even sleepy time, they have an option for you. Let My Herba make the best you with code BARBER10 for 10% off at thefitnesscollectif.com.